What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Billy Collins.
MATJ.
This is Magician.
And the Jock.
Who is back with us
By popular demand. The most popular episode so far.
Highest ranking episode we've had.
The thousand viewer club. Mr. Chase Martin, how are you, sir?
Great, man.
Back to you in the house.
Good to be back with you guys. I appreciate y'all having me. You know, small town, big sound, back in the 252 again.
Gotta get that thumbnail.
Representing, but I appreciate you guys having me on.
So the last time we had you on, we literally, the housing remodeling institute went up drastically because we had at least 1,000 guys running through walls, being so charged and pumped up because you were so motivating the last time you were on.
And with where building supplies, how much those cost.
God, you know,
you almost crashed the local economy.
Yeah, and people are like, look, we don't know if we can handle Chase on again because we just can't afford it.
Yeah. So we just told him, hey, buy paper brick walls like we did. But no, we talked earlier, man. You're always texting with like, what up, fam? Just climb Mount Everest for the 12th time this year, like, or some crazy update. So maybe let people know, because today we're going to be talking about fitness, talking about being active, you know, mindset, lifestyle. There's obviously the aesthetic aspect of it, hence the tank top I'm wearing. Shout out to Film to Field, is my buddy's company of mine out of Wilmington. But yeah, let people know what you just finished, because it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. I'll touch on recently. I just finished my 10th marathon, 10th full marathon for those technical people at 26.2 miles. I'm also including in those 10 a 50 miler that I did, an ultra marathon. But and I started running marathons about 3 years ago. So this is my 10th marathon, and it's definitely not something that I've done a lot of in my forte. But it was quite an accomplishment. And this most recent one was very different than the other 9, even the 50 miler, in that it was in the woods. It was a trail marathon, and it dealt with 3,000 cumulative feet that you elevate. It dealt with going through creeks and your shoes and socks being wet for all 26.2 miles. I think you get your feet wet 9 different times throughout the 26.2 miles. You're constantly looking down at rocks and uneven ground and jumping over roots and tree stumps. So it was a lot different. I mean, running 26.2 miles period, and I'm 5'10", 225. I was
gonna say.
So it was very different. They put me in the Clydesdale group because there weren't many 200 plus people out there.
Dude, when you walked up, were people looking at you like, man, I think he got his dates mixed up? Like, this is
like some people, you know, they give you that look like, wait a minute, is this a powerlifting or weightlifting meet? Is this really running 26.2 miles? So it's a respect thing too. The people that really specialize one-dimensionally, that they define, you know, we can go into this more, but how they define strong, right, is their specialty is long distance running. So most of them are, you know, 5'10", let's just say 140 pounds. And so they're running extremely fast times, but they have a lot of respect for somebody like me that comes out there that's not one-dimensional for that, that's multi-dimensional. And, you know, that's what makes me part of why I'm so proud of doing these events, is it's so out of my comfort zone of what I've done for years, and makes me just much more well-rounded to really continue to redefine what strong means to me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you often test your body with different?
Well, yeah, like he's almost like a guinea pig, kind of.
Yeah, like, because I find myself doing that too. Like I'll when I do my HIIT programs, I'll lift, and I'm like, well, I can lift another one, because I like the saying, your mind gives up before your body does. And I kind of go like, so even if I'm tired and I don't want to run another mile, or
do another some
rep,
days I'll do arms 3 times in 1 week just to push myself.
And you know, we can look at it this way. You know, like we set our own standard for ourselves. You know, back to a quote I once said, you know, what we do in this life echoes in eternity. And it's good to have fun. But, you know, when you like, what do I want to leave the earth with? Like Nike, you know, stands for just do it. Under Armour stands for, you know, we must protect this house. And it's like, what do you stand for? You know, what does your name mean? And so for me, I hope and pray that I just strive to leave this world as flawed as I can be at times and as imperfect of a human as I am. I hope to leave with empty pockets. I truly do. I hope I left all my talent on the table to self-develop with this no finish line mentality that we can dive into what that really means to me and redefine what strong means to me. But just that I left the world with empty pockets, that I served others and helped make other people's lives better. I also just left with empty pockets that all of my talent was like truly used, spirit, mind, and body, you know, with fitness as well. And that I truly just left a legacy for myself and for others, that to encourage others to write their story, whatever strong means to them, but to really leave it and let their ambition truly to just continue exceed their talents. So that's really my goal. Is I hope I don't have stuff still in my pockets of what my potential was that I just didn't tap into because I stopped after I got to a certain point where I arrived and I got complacent in my journey.
Yeah.
So what's the graveyard's full of unfinished dreams? Or
Yeah, I think or also Les Brown talks about a lot of people go to their grave with their music still inside them. And you've been, so we're big on fitness. We did a show on just getting in shape. We just launched the Fully Vetted show with Jordan, who's doing the producing right now. So he's obviously former Marine Corps, which is, you know, you've got to be capable there. And Chase, we were talking before, you know, we're in the information age now, right? So once athletes get done playing a sport, you know, like I said, you're not going to have a hard time convincing a rising junior in college he needs to work out for his upcoming football season. You know, he's got that goal, that he has that reason for doing it. But once you get done playing, get done competing, you have to find some intrinsic reason to continue working out, because there's not always a direct benefit. It's not like getting your master's, which is going to increase your income.
right.
You get what I mean? And it's not like being stronger is going to help you directly code better or do something. Does that make sense? I mean, and maybe let people know you trained five, like you mentioned before, 5,000 different people because you were in personal training. Most of them were not professional athletes or guys doing ultra marathons or anything like that.
Great question. So I've been working out for about 25 years now. You know, I'm 37 years old. So back in kind of the later years of middle school is when I started getting introduced to weightlifting and push-ups and calisthenics and stuff. And obviously a lot's changed over 25 years. I think one place that the world has gone wrong is being dependent on motivation, dependent on it. So motivation to me is great. It's a great thing. It's great to get a new outfit to wear to the gym. It's great to have goals. Goals are extremely important, right? It's great to have goals. It's great to get bigger arms or run a faster mile time, run a faster 40-yard dash. But the problem is if a lot of motivations are based on how you feel, they're an emotional response. So if I don't feel like doing it and I don't have motivation, I don't feel like it, then I don't do it. Right. You know, and it's kind of funny, but we don't really see it as an option to, you know, when we use the bathroom to wipe, let's just say. So, but we see it as
ever used a bidet?
Yeah. We see it as optional to take care of our heart, to use our temple as a majority, if you will. So it's interesting how it's optional to take care of yourself, but it's obligational to do certain things. And I guess my point there is true commitment is where you really have a lifelong success with fitness. I believe with life as well, you know, just bigger than the exercise part of it is to not have this finish line and also with what we're talking, to not have to be dependent on motivation, to still have goals, to still have motivations, to still look for things that make it fun and make you feel like doing it, but to still do it on those days you don't feel like doing it. You just got off work. You're a father, you're a mother, you're tired, you don't play a sport anymore. It's not a part of what makes you code better to get your biceps bigger, but to still find reasons to do it and decide to be committed to it, even when you're not feeling like it and not motivated in the moment, to still do it. Because the biggest thing I learned, Matt Dodge, as you brought up, out of those 5,000 people over an 8-year period that I trained in personal training and being a wellness director of a gym and being a college strength coach.
Say that one more time. It cut out just for a second. So
yeah. So out of those 5,000 people that I trained, the age range was from 10 years old to 80 years old. Like you said, a lot of them were not athletes, or not current athletes, at least. You dealt with physical disabilities, 3 knee surgeries, injuries, non-athletes. People want to gain weight, people want to lose weight. So there was a wide variety of, your people that you're working out. And the biggest commonality, one of the biggest, was I just stopped working out. So It wasn't the workout they did, it was that they just stopped doing it at some point. And everybody relied on a goal only, and then they stopped. So the goal was, it's good to have a goal, right? To get into the next swimsuit, to look great in that wedding dress. But is it stop there, or is that a problem that we have in our world today, that we have short-term goals and then we have a finish line, and then we've arrived and we're complacent? So that's really a commonality I saw, over the 25 years I've worked out myself. And, for what it's worth to those out there, I have actually gained 120 pounds. I was 5'10", 280 after college.
So I think we have, because Chase played college football at Elon, and I remember Chase saying, "Dude, I came to college as a safety, and I graduated as a nose tackle." I think pull those pictures up just to give people an idea. I remember this. See if you can move that window right there. There you go. You can drag it. There you go. So on the left here, this is what time frame?
Yeah, so that was probably 2 years after college. I was about 5'10", 280. I was I call strong one-dimensionally, let's just say. I could bench press well over 400 pounds with good form, by the way, for those out there. With good form, pick my feet up if I needed to, just to prove a point, pause it on my chest, and I could squat a lot. I wasn't just a bench press guy. I could do pretty much any, from upper and lower body, back muscles. I was extremely strong in a weight room.
So what was the thought? Because you're doing marathons now. What was the thought process between, what you're doing now and obviously there? Were you like, I just want to see how strong I can possibly get?
I think part of it was that. Another piece of it was I was the skinny athletic kid growing up that was very athletic, but coaches constantly created what I call bigorexia. Psychologically, the opposite of anorexia, where you're never skinny enough. It was bigorexia. You're never big enough.
That's
and
real.
I was the guy that they said, get bigger, weigh more, bench press more. I don't think they realized quite how extreme I was. So going to college going to college, I was 5'10", 170, and I got up to about 5'10", 280 after college. And I was extremely strong. Athleticism took a back seat, though, which is interesting to tell youth now, that if you want to be a great athlete, you got to keep being athletic and lower body fat and leaner and healthier, number one, and the skills of the sport. And then secondarily, yes, you want to get stronger, bigger muscles. But if you gain 50 pounds on your bench press, but get slower in a 40-yard dash, that's no good.
Right.
And that's what a lot of the youth mistake now, is they get stronger in the weight room and the powerlifting, but they get slower and gain more body fat. And that's where it took me getting more mature to get to a point where, okay, that bigorexia psychological piece where I'm never big enough, my muscles are never big enough. I had to get to a point where I was mature enough to say, let me redefine what strong means to me. Strong has to be redefined, and it can no longer be the one-dimensional, just how much can you bench press and squat, but do you have a weakness that's just way out of line with what your abilities are? Could you still bench press over 300 pounds and run 10 miles? Or could you bench 400 pounds and run no miles? Your body fat's 40%, let's just say. So I guess my point in also showing my pictures is that I'm humbled to know, I don't consider myself the most elite gifted person in the world physically. I'm not, Michael Jordan, LeBron James in basketball. But I was talented enough. I think the belief and the hope that hopefully for people watching this is that you don't have to have elite genetics. I told Dodge earlier, I think he's definitely more genetically gifted than me. Not to say he doesn't work hard also, but yeah, man. But show him the horseshoe.
Not for tanning, the
genetic lottery.
Show him the horseshoe.
This is what I used to do in college. I call it you kill the rat in your pocket. You just go, kill that rat.
Yeah, man. So I guess my point though is with my before and after pictures, it's not really for me to brag. I am proud of my accomplishments, but it's more so for people to understand you don't have to have elite genetics if you're willing to truly find a formula that works and consistently with quality attack it with no finish line, that for years to come, have some short-term goals, but just never have a finish line. Don't arrive. Don't get complacent where you take 5 years off and then you never work out again because you got in your wedding dress that one time or that swimsuit that one time.
And this is why people will crash diet and it works
for the time being, but
the second you take your foot it's like rote memorization in school. As soon as you stop memorizing, all that knowledge goes, nothing really changed. It was kind of short term. And I go to sleep every night and I look at myself. Like you have a self-image, right? And I see myself a certain way. It's like your baseline. We all do that. You do. And the only way in my opinion, to change physically for the long period is you got to change that. It's like as within, so without. And if you see yourself as overweight, out of shape, that's what you're going to be. Even if you're not, even if you're in the middle of that crash diet, as soon as you take your foot off the gas.
It took me a long time because I was, when I got my divorce, I tongue in cheek about saying I wanted to become cardiac accountant's most desired bachelor. So I went on this workout.
Oh, that's what you wanted.
Yeah.
Why not? 100%. Why not? Yeah.
But I also, it took on a life on its own. Like after that, I was like, okay, well, I am now, I'm at,
you're back on the market. You're a free agent
okay,
again.
Well,
yeah.
Let's keep that. And I don't even care about that. I mean, I care about it, but that's not the main goal anymore. The goal is to see how well I can treat my body and make it as positive as can be. But with that being said, I still in my mind sometimes have a hard time taking off my shirt because I feel like I'm still that 200-pound, 5'9", 200-pound fat kid or fat guy.
Chase was kind of mentioning that with bigorexia. Like I was always a really skinny kid. So working out, you never thought you were big enough. If you missed a meal, you almost felt like guilty. If you didn't get your protein in that perfect 30-minute, got to take your protein window. And like, if you missed it, I'd be like depressed. So there is some, a lot of that comes with just maturing. You get out of that. But you mentioned no finish lines, but I would argue also you've had a lot of mile markers, right? So there was a time where you've changed maybe the goal in the short term, but with the realization like, all right, I'm not just getting to 400-pound bench press and then I'm done forever. It's like, all right, let's move the goalposts a little bit. Now I want to see, all right, I got strong as hell. Can I run? Because that's what all the skinny marathon runners, you can lift weights, but you can't run. So you're like, all right, let me try that. Cause they kind of got a point, a little bit.
Yeah. And it starts with
you can't run.
Yeah.
It starts with what you said earlier about a self-image. You have to have a vision. And my word, if you ask me what strong meant 10 years ago, I would have probably said, or 15 years ago for sure, I would have said, how much can you bench? How much can you squat? How big around are your arms? You know, and it's not that those aren't a piece of the pie. It's just not the whole pie. It's strong now has been redefined. Do you have a weakness? Can you run 5 miles if you have to and go play 5 games of basketball, even if you're not great at basketball, and bench press and squat and do pull-ups? Do you have a weakness? Another thing I talked about with a lot of the people I've trained over the years has been self-awareness, like you said, self-image, but also exercise taste buds. So in other words, to have this no finish line mentality, one of the first questions I would ask is, are you realistically, with self-awareness, do you feel like you're going to be more of a nutrition, passionate about your nutrition and work out realistically 2 to 3 days a week? Are you going to be a 7-day-a-week gym rat like some of us? And not really that you don't care about nutrition, but it's just not your passion. You're not going to take it to the next level. Or are you going to be a combination of both? And I think asking that's very important, because if we're setting up a 7-day workout week for a personality type that's just never going to do that, and realistically, they're just going to stop in 2 weeks from now.
Burn out. Yeah.
They're going to burn out. It's not their exercise taste buds. Take it a step further. If I like weightlifting, or if I like, let's say I like the treadmill, or I hate the treadmill, well, we need to take that into account. Now, we need to make sure we're not trying to do something that's too easy on something or too hard on something where we think we hate the treadmill. We're just trying to do speeds we can't run at. So we think we hate the treadmill. We may not hate it. We may be just trying to do something we're not ready for. So trying to find people's exercise taste buds was extremely important. Another thing I used to teach trainers is great leaders don't create followers. They create other great leaders. They help people find self-efficacy, empowering people, and they're not dictators. They help facilitate others to empower them to create this no finish line of self-development. And then, you know, for what it's worth, I think the challenge also becomes self-development while still being selfless, while still maintaining to be unselfish, where you're not, it's just not all about me. I want to have generations to come that it means the world to me when somebody from West Carteret says, Chase, man, 4 years ago, you had no idea what I was going through, but you just gave me that piece of advice or that perspective. And then you're like, man, that just made my day. And that just gives me one more reason to do what I do. Just like you guys, right? Small town, big sound. So that's kind of another whole aspect of it is self-development while maintaining this selfless mentality to serve the world and be a servant leader.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it comes down to like, I don't know. What do you think? Why do you work? I mean, because we did the show and we've talked a lot about like how a beta ruined my marriage, and something that's pretty common with men when you're on the market. And Jordan, you could probably attest to this too. And you're trying to attract females. Like that is a lot of motivation to get in shape.
Yeah, it's huge. And
you think while you're in the thick of it, like, dude, this is just who I am. Then you get married. It's like a baseball player signing that long-term deal. And suddenly like they had 100 home runs last year and now they stink. What they took their foot off the gas. So it's a realigning of why do I still work out if I'm still married? You probably found it wasn't hard to find motivation to get back in the gym now that you're back on the market, but it's like, how do you get that before that?
Yeah. So I did work out while I was married, but there was a time where the marriage kind of knew that it was kind of over. It was a couple of years that we were just pretending
to change the locks on the door.
Yeah. You know, but so you just kind of get your mindset, your brain goes into the like, well, I just give up.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to work out. Who cares? Whatever.
I got you.
So you kind of take a step back, but then obviously I got the divorce, and then here comes phase 2. I call it phase 2 of my life. I went through phase 1 where I worked out, did all that fun stuff, had the family, had the wife, the kids, boom. Now it's phase 2. Now it's time for me. So I did start working out to attract women. And I still do. I still like it when I can walk into a place and like, wow, okay, all right, I got you.
Oh, okay. He's here.
Yeah. But there's the other part of it is because I just feel good. And I feel
Absolutely.
like if I do not work out, like I skipped 3 days last week because we had graduation and I had Colin, and I skipped 3 days and I felt like I gained 700 pounds. I was just miserable.
You feel like you almost feel like you're cheating on the image that you have with yourself. But that's where having that, like I have an image of someone that's in shape. So even if I take a week off, I'm guilt-free now.
Yeah.
Simply because I know like that's who I am. I can get it back in a week.
Right.
It doesn't promote laziness, but it also, I think it's healthier than when I was 17 or 18 and like I would stay up at night, like freaking out. Bigorexia is real, but sorry, I just wanted to comment.
But you get to a point where if you do skip a couple of days, it's almost like, well, shit, I haven't even brushed my teeth. I feel like I haven't brushed my teeth in 3 days.
I would argue, Chase, you've got a lot of internal motivations, but those internal motivations makes you seek out external, call it challenges, like signing up for a marathon. I did a couple bodybuilding shows. We are doing a show like this, which there isn't any like direct correlation to an income right away. Is that? Yeah, we're good. So yeah, but anyways, go. What was your thoughts?
Yeah. So one thought is I think a lot of people need to understand the difference between being content versus being complacent. Content is a great thing. It doesn't mean you're satisfied with where you are, but you're okay that if I'm in a weight loss journey or a bench press journey or something, that I'm at where I'm at. I still have more goals to come, more short-term goals along the way of this marathon, more mile markers to come. I'm content in the process of becoming, which on the big scale is for the rest of my life. I'm just going to keep becoming. There is no finish line. Complacent is where I've accomplished a goal. I've accomplished a mile marker. I've bench pressed a certain amount.
I got married. Why do I need to work out anymore? I'm married.
Yeah.
And you get to this mile marker that you stop. That's complacency. So to me, being content is a great thing, but becoming complacent is a disease. Complacency is one of the worst diseases, like regret. So for me, there's nothing wrong with finding as many motivations as kind of Billy was talking about earlier of, impressing girls or something, what you look like naked or your bicep or how much you can bench press. I think for me, if somebody said, Chase, how did you go from the one-dimensional being able to bench press over 400 pounds so a little bit about my story too there. I went from college weighing 170 going into college, and I'm 5'10", to eventually 5'10", 280, and very, very strong in a weight room in all dimensions of that. But one dimensional, I call it, in my view of what strong meant. It was just how strong are you and how big are you? And then I went the other extreme and got down to after weighing 280, I got down to 185 or so. So I lost almost 90 pounds after weighing 180. So I've done these things so I can relate to the big, bulky body, power lifter. I can relate to the lean guy when I got down to 185 with less than 5% body fat. I've done both of those in my own
He was shredded.
body.
He was shredded.
And so for me, the different things is kind of like we talked about earlier, self-image. I don't think there's anything wrong with silly or external motivations at all. I don't think they're bad. I don't think shallow, or if you call them external motivations, are bad. I think wanting to impress other people, impress yourself. And then I would say the next layer down of how I went from seeing a mile run at West Carteret track is so overwhelming, right? 4 laps around the high school track, going from 1 mile run to running, let's say 5Ks at one point, 3.1 miles, to eventually running a 26.2 mile marathon and getting to mile 10 in the marathon and going, I'm not even halfway yet. And I've been running for almost 2 hours. Just the shift in perspective of what hard is, just the maturity of the calloused mindset that I'm amazed at if you would have asked Chase Martin 15 years ago that you were going to run 10 26.2 mile marathons, a 50 miler, a wood marathon, like a trail run marathon, I would have been like, what in the world? Heck no. So my perspective of myself has changed.
I ain't gay. I don't run.
I don't run. I let happy shit.
Hold on,
Yeah.
before you finish. So if I got to mile 10, I'm not even halfway there and I'm dying, I'd be like, hey, this was fun. Chase was like, you know what? I should do a 50 miler. Like,
You know, 10 is not enough. Let me go.
Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so 50 miles, like it took me over 12 hours, just to put some perspective out there. Like 5'10", 225, it took me around 5 hours to run most of those marathons. As I've improved, give or take 5 hours. That's not walking, that's running at about 10 to 12 minute pace miles for 5 hours. Like that's not slow, especially when you're, you know, my genetics 5'10", 225 right now. But I'm so much more well-rounded now than I ever once was. To be extremely big and bulky and strong in a weight room, but high body fat, or to be lean and not nearly as well-rounded and strong in all ways. The definition of what I even call strong has changed drastically. And I would say more so my mentality of what motivates me, if you will, my why, right? Like we talked about Nike's Just Do It, Under Armour's We Must Protect This House. What is Chase's, or what is your, whoever's watching this, what is your why? What does your name mean? What do you represent? What's your logo of your life? And so for me, it's definitely layers. Like I have external motivations. I want to look a certain way naked. I want to look a certain way for myself to impress other people's. I think it's healthy to have buddies and friends that you compete with in a healthy way. But then the next level down is, how am I going to handle challenges that are going to happen in life? How am I going to handle when I go through a divorce, or when I go through a breakup, or when I go through a job change, or when my grandma or family member passes away? How am I going to handle an inevitable challenge in my life? And I truly have lived long enough to see direct correlation that if I can get through a suffering that has some benefits, but a suffering in fitness of running for 5 hours or a 50 miler for 12 hours, then I can find better ways to handle the pain that you have in life through challenges, whether it's a family member dying or, you know, real life, real things that everybody has faced in their own way. Do we let it consume us and we become an alcoholic or commit suicide? Or do we find ways to defeat the suffering, to fall down 7 times, get up 8? And that's really the layers of why I have this love-hate relationship with pain and suffering, of going out and running for 5 hours when at times it's miserable, if I'm honest. It is absolutely horrible in moments, but the benefits afterwards, the light after the storm, it is such a great feeling. It is so beautiful. And you know, if you think about it, when you think of growing up, you think about winning a championship in sports. That's like the high moments, right? Or when you graduate. And then it becomes when you have your first or child. Let's say, like my brother Matt, by the way, he just had his first child, and my brother Nick has 2 beautiful, my niece and nephew. So now I have 2 nephews and a niece. But those big moments become lower and lower and rarer, right? They're more rare as we get older. We don't get married every 2 seconds. So you guys there? I can't see you anymore.
Yeah. Our camera
sorry.
just, yeah.
So anyway, I guess my point is, as we get older in life, the special big memories get more and more rare. They don't happen every day. And for me, that's where fitness and having these short-term goals and these milestones, as Dodge said, these mile markers, they become very important. And finding your why and finding deeper layers, so there is no finish line. Because if you are only motivated because of how you look in a swimsuit, that might eventually run out. If you get married one day, are you still motivated? If you stop playing sports, when you played sports your whole life and worked out for sports, are you stopping because you don't have that motivation anymore?
You can have I mean, Jordan, you can talk on guys getting out of the military. You know, it's when you know you're about to run out on kickoff, or you know you're about to go on a mission, and a foreign.
It's me up to see a veteran that's out of weight,
But-
overweight or out of shape.
But you can see it's simple. It's like you're identified with that mission. We talk about them fully vetted, like what's your new mission? And it really is intrinsic. Like Chase is a weight room guy. He probably enjoys training more than he enjoyed game days, and he loves game days. I remember running out with New York. They were like, come on, boys, we're paid to practice. We play for free. And like the guys who have a staying power, they love to train. But there were guys in the locker room, you knew as soon as they turned in their jersey the last time, they were going to get massive because that external. So what I would encourage people watching right now, it's just like mind shifting in anything, right? We talk about having a wealth and abundance mindset versus a poverty mindset. It's the same way with fitness, right?
100%.
As within, so without. So Chase has such a strong mental image. You said something, we were talking on the phone earlier, like, I see myself as somebody different. Like I do shit that other people don't do. That's why when he's actually more aligned or in balance when he's running a 50-mile race than when he's not, because that's who he goes to sleep with every night. This guy's different.
Chase, let me ask you a question. You've kind of touched back on, the Chase 15, 25 years ago, or the Chase 10 years ago would never do this. How much does age actually play into your decisions of doing things? Like for me, actually, I think it was him that said, why not just deadlift 500 pounds? My goal was
No, he said he wanted to deadlift 500 at age 50.
Yeah. So my goal is to deadlift 500 pounds by the time I turn 50, and that's in August. So, but I set that goal for myself, not for anyone else. So if I don't make it, I don't make it.
He's going to be filming it though, by the way.
I will be.
You should.
Fail or not, I will film it.
But you're saying age.
Yeah,
I mean,
how
age.
much is that? Because sometimes, when we're younger, we're doing it for either playing the game or
And you
playing,
feel great.
Yeah, and just to hang out with the guys and stuff. But at what point do you get to where it just becomes for you? Or is that just something gradual that happened?
I think age is absolutely a factor. I don't think that's the whole story. I know people that are 70 years old that I used to train that still haven't figured out what I figured out maybe 15 years ago. And I'm not saying there's one way to define what strong means. I think, success to me is if you're happy. You're losing if you're not happy. You're losing if you're miserable. And whatever enemy, you call it the devil or you call it just the enemy, a lot of people are waiting for a new season of their life to find their peace, to claim their peace and joy that they have to claim every day, their happiness. And it doesn't mean to be delusional of the challenges, but to your point about age, I do think it's directly correlated to age in the sense you have opportunities of these inevitable challenges that come our way. And every time we face a challenge, maybe it's a workout, maybe it's a death in the family, maybe it's just something bad that's hard. It's
You get
suffering.
sick. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what are you going to do and how are you going to respond has become so important. And as I've gotten older, I would say I haven't always done everything right. I'm far from perfect, but I have always responded well consistently to most of the painful and challenging moments in my life. I've never just gave in and thrown in my towel that I'm just going to be complacent forever. So for me, as you age, you're going to be throwing challenges. And the big question to any of us, even the people watching this, is what are you going to do in response to it? Are you going to be a victim of circumstance forever? Or are you going to overcome that, free yourself from whatever prison it may have temporarily put you in, internally, this internal prison that can happen when you face these challenges as you age. So for me, Billy, to your question, age is definitely a factor. Experience is definitely a correlated factor, but how you choose and decide to respond to that through your aging, I really do think that is a key component.
Yeah. I mean, it's a factor, but it's like, fuck, it's a factor for everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
I see guys I went to school with, and I'm like, dude, I thought that the competition was easy 10 years ago. Now I'm like,
earth shattering.
These guys. So, I mean, there is some pride about it. Like, there is that little bit of like, back when you were playing, hey, dude, they're not putting in this time like I am. I don't know who they are, but they're not doing it. You know, there is some of that, like, still just raw competitiveness that, you know, there's no quit and chase. And it's not because he wants to be he has no illusion of winning a marathon or doing that kind of stuff. But he's also, you're not going to be able to say, Chase, you're big, but you can't run a marathon. Like, that would keep Chase that'd probably keep him up at night. Like, somebody to be able to hold a little bit of something over his head. And that it can start with you start working out for sports, or you start working out because, hey, maybe I probably should start working out. And then a girl shows you a little
attention
across the gym, and you're like, oh hell, like,
maybe should work out a little harder.
You're like, damn, I've got agency, I've got ability. And then now all of a sudden you start to gradually change that self-image, and it just becomes who you are. And, you know, Chase has done a bunch of different things. And I was reading about this, like, people who suffer from depression, anxiety, just low levels of satisfaction, unhappiness, they tend to be those that have a really strict, rigid dogma that they live by.
Yeah.
It's like someone that says, this is the only way to work out, the only way ever. If you can't, this will make the optimal athlete. And I always say, look, dude, in life, if there was a best way, there'd only be one way.
Yeah.
So Chase has gone, he's tried it all because he genuinely enjoys
and it's fun
that process.
It's to do different things, like with
a blast.
The challenge and, you know, things like that. It's just, you push your body, push your limits. And for some reason, it just makes you feel like, when people say, why do you get up at 5:30 and work out? You know why I get up at 5:30 and work out? Because if I don't do shit the rest of the day, I know that I've completed something in my life on that day as I worked out. So,
and if you worked out, the chances of you working out at 5:30 in the morning and not doing anything the rest of the day is zero. You're already up.
Yeah.
And out of so if you think about it, like, to the people watching this too, for me, like, I've trained about 5,000 people, and many of those, by the way, over 100 times individually. So it wasn't like just one-offs. I watched people over time. The most common theme I saw for unsuccessful people was that they quit at some point. They just stopped working out. It wasn't, to Dodge's point there, and what Billy, you were saying, is it wasn't the specific workout. If they did chest day, back day, arm day, or total body day, or CrossFit, or weightlifting, or running marathons, or powerlifting, it wasn't what specific style and exercise taste buds they tapped into. It was that they just didn't do anything. And one big thing that I'm passionate about is keeping people with this no finish line, that there is no end point to take care of your temple, spirit, mind, and body, but also your body is included in that. It's not a shallow thing to take care of yourself, right? So for me, whether it's nutrition focused or exercise focused, what type of exercise it is, I just saw so many people that fell off the wagon of, at some point in their life, they just did not work out anymore. And so, to Dodge's point, to me, like, I don't try to dictate how somebody does their workout, as much as I'll give them advice. I'll help them find their self-awareness of what they like to do. But at some point, it's about continuing and not ever ending their exercise routines throughout the rest of their life.
Just
and
do
it may
something
change throughout the seasons.
Just do something. Jim Rome says, dude, no one can do the push-ups for you.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, and sure, there's no finish line, but there's a shit ton of benefits day one. Why else would we do it? If it was all loss, we're not idiots. Like, we're not, there's so many benefits to it. And I think it's tough now because we've gotten so comfortable. You know, if you go watch old documentaries from the back in the day, we call it processed foods or whatever. It was just life demanded a lot more out of you. So, like, you had no choice but to have physical capability. If you were fat and sickly, you died. Well,
so
now
one person recently, Joe Rogan, I watched him recently, and you reminded me of it. He talked about a phrase he used called built-in excuses. And with the fitness part of that, for me, it's kind of like if I'm a new trainer and let's say I'm not confident fully yet in my way. So I really lean towards keeping people really safe, right? And I get caught up in this. I'm marketing myself that I'm preaching to. Let's think of who's sitting in front of me if I'm a personal trainer. It's an unmotivated person typically. It's a non-athlete. It's somebody that's not confident. It took them a lot to get to the point of sitting here at this gym right now in front of me. So I have to put my mindset, if I'm really good at it, in their shoes. I'm unmotivated. I'm not confident in this arena of physical fitness. Let's say I have 40% body fat and I'm very depressed psychologically. So let's go into that and say, okay, I made it to the gym finally. So this built-in excuse that the trainers that I am screaming to the trainers out there of the world, please do not overly talk about don't overtrain and stay safe to an undertraining population. Like, do we really need to tell an unmotivated person to not overtrain? Is the world that we live in, think about it, everybody, is the world we live in full of people just working out 7 hours a day? I don't think so. I think the problem is we've gotten, how true is this? Have we gotten to a point, rhetorically speaking, have we gotten to a point where walking to the mailbox 2 days in a row is too much? We need recovery. So I think these people, right? If you're not an extreme athlete, if you're not working out 4 hours a day, we don't even need to really talk about overtraining. And then on safety, you know, sure, safety, use full range of motion, control, posture. That doesn't include don't challenge yourself. That's the misunderstanding that's taken out of context, is not challenging yourself. And this overtraining concept, you know, chest day, back day, rest day, all this stuff. We've gotten to a point, truly, if I walk to a mailbox, there's people out there that I could see them using it as a cop-out to be active. They have 50% body fat and they walked to the mailbox yesterday. So today they need to recover because Lord knows we don't want to overtrain, you know. And if you're doing a 30-minute workout at low intensity, you could do that same workout every single day and not overtrain because it's just not hard enough. Right. So I think things are just taken out of context a lot of times with this built-in excuse, if you will, of looking for another reason to just cop out of exercising.
Well, I told people, and this is going to sound very harsh, but I tell people, I'm like, pretty much if you're fat, you're lazy.
Yep.
When I'm gaining weight, it's because I'm being lazy. I don't want to get up. I don't want to meal prep. I don't want to go to the gym. I just want to lay around and do nothing. I'm being lazy. You go to Walmart and see these people that are in the riding carts that are 400 pounds.
Wearing a mask.
You know, telling me, where's your mask? You know,
selective
get up.
Selective health care.
Yeah, it's like, get up, walk a little bit, you know, stop being lazy. And I told my ex-wife this. I said, you know, fat people are just lazy.
Lord, that's why he's ex.
And then she goes, well, that's kind of rude. I was like, I want you to really think about it. And then she started. So that's a great point.
Two lies that you just brought up, Billy, for me. Two lies for the world. These are two lies that a lot of people think is you can't be financially wealthy and be a good person. That's a big lie, right? You don't have to be financially stagnant or financially broke and be bankrupt to be a good person. You can be financially wealthy and be a good person. Another lie that we're talking about with fitness is the same thing. You don't have to be fat to have a deep-rooted heart and to be a good person. You can be lean and ripped or muscular or well-rounded and run marathons or bench press a lot and still be deep and have the right spirit, the right heart, the right mindset to serve the world, to do good things, to be a good father, a good mother, a good brother, sister. You don't have to be overweight and out of shape and morbidly unhealthy, you know. And it's one thing, like it's one thing if you're paralyzed, right, and you don't have a choice. Right. But what a slap in God's face, or whatever you believe in, if you're wasting your talent. What a slap in his face to give you this ability. How many people are in wheelchairs, paralyzed, that would die to walk on a treadmill, that would die to be able to pick up their grandchildren? How many people are on medications and it's not because of genetics? They may
Right.
have a bad genetic disposition, but not everybody. And this is a thing I say is people get caught up in workouts. If you go to every professional soccer or marathon runner event, if you actually look at them, I bet some of them have thyroid issues, but you would never know it looking at them because they're so in shape. They didn't let that be an excuse.
Yeah.
There's not a fat marathon runner.
You know, it drives me, and I think a lot of it has to do with Hollywood too. Well, you know, glorify these bigger actors like the Melissa McCarthy's or the Rebel Wilsons, or
But you look at all them, eventually they come
and
around and
now they're all
get in
like
shape.
they're all getting in shape. You know why? Because it's not healthy. It's not good for them. It's not a purpose. It's not a way of life. If you want to live longevity.
To those people out there that say, I love how I am now, I'll say this. It does, just because I'm content if I am not where I want to be one day, doesn't give me the cop out to not work on myself. It doesn't mean hate yourself to not be okay that you're fat. Like if I'm overweight, I shouldn't be okay with that. That doesn't mean I'm suicidal. It shouldn't, but it also shouldn't mean that I'm just accepting that this is how God made me. No, God didn't make you to be 500 pounds, especially if you have the ability to walk. He didn't make you to be 500 pounds.
Yeah.
You weren't born to be that way. You can choose to use the tools in your kit. It's kind of like if God gave you, if you believe in whatever, you know, if he gave you all the ingredients to make a cake, all the ingredients, and you never make the cake, and you're just in there going, well, there's no cake popping up in front of me waiting on this lottery ticket that's never coming your way. You know, so to me, I think it's a cop out for these people that are like, I just love the way I am and I love me for me. But if you're not working on self-development, you were born to self-develop. You weren't born to accept the fact that you're reckless and you're way overweight. And like I said before, kind of like you don't have to be financially poor to be wealthy and be a good person. You can be wealthy monetarily and be a good person. You don't have to prove a point and be out of shape just because you're a good person. You can be ripped and be a good person in real life with bigger things than just fitness. And I think that's just like a cop out, and it's such a weak excuse for people to not work out.
Yeah.
I mean, and at the end of the day, you look in the mirror, you know.
Yeah.
Like, what is Michael Jackson, that song, Man in the Mirror?
Dude, you know, I look at this picture. Sometimes I'll get to the point where I'm like, man, I really still need a lot of work. And then I'll look at old pictures of myself and I'm like, okay, I'm proud of you, Billy, but you can still do more.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, and I like to push myself. I know Chase, you do. I know you do. I mean, anyone that's associated with the show is pretty much in the same mindset.
And you know what? And guys, I would say, like, if there's people that are out of shape, they're not happy. The vast majority of fat people don't buy into this fat positivity bullshit. No. They're not going to sit here and pretend, yeah, when I go to the pool and I keep my shirt on at the pool, I feel really positive. Yeah. They're not going to say but I think a lot of them they're starting from the outside, hoping to change the inside. And what I would tell you guys, look, if you're a Christian, Jesus said, I came to bring life and life abundant. Like, you can't be abundant and be strapped financially. You can't be abundant and be morbidly obese. That's not life abundant. What I would say tonight, visualize yourself in great shape. Just go to the end. Pretend you are that person you want to be, that you aspire to be, like the one that walks down the beach and turns heads. Just visualize that and fall asleep in that, and then start behaving like that. Because Chase does a lot of stuff. We all do a lot of stuff, but I like to call it's effortless effort. Yeah, it is effort, but it's effortless effort. Why? Because it is who we are. It is, but it takes a lot, but it's who you are. Yeah. Right. It's pleasurable suffering. When you can trick your mind that, holy shit, actually, before a muscle grows, you got to break it down. This is a necessary step in this that's actually a really good thing. And it's,
you know what you're saying, Dodge? This is necessary to have a full life. This conversation is so important for people to hear. Billy, Dodge, like, this conversation that we're having is so important, because if you don't have a foundation that's starting up here psychologically, you know, it doesn't end there like analysis paralysis. Some people just talk, but it has to start here to go out and apply. And you got to figure out, what is your why? I have to incorporate exercise and fitness to be a full life, a full, healthy spirit, mind, and body. God didn't just say spirit and mind, by the way. He said spirit, mind, and body, all three. For those out there copping out with just, I'm a deep person, you know,
They're like flip it through their new international version. Six pack is the devil's.
I have 60% body fat, but I'm a nice person.
Have a great personality.
If you're not paralyzed in a wheelchair, there's no excuse for you to not be a full person and to not slap God in the face with saying, I waste all of my ability and I'm just reckless and just sitting on a couch eating sugar all day, and that's all I do. You know, and then I question, to your point, the ripple effect of, well, how am I going to handle being a husband or a wife or you know, handling my mom passing away if I can't even go work out for 30 minutes. Who did
COVID most impact? The morbidly obese.
The unhealthy.
Eventually, at some point, that's why I tell people why it's very important to be strong. Like I've got a meme and I put it over a picture of me flexing, of course, but it said, if you think lifting weights is dangerous, try being weak and small. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
100.
Just like
that's very dangerous.
Dodge, what you just said is, if you think overtraining is dangerous, if you think working out too much is dangerous, try undertraining and being completely out of shape on blood pressure, cholesterol medications that you genetically
diabetes,
didn't have to be on.
So
and for what it's worth, let's think of a practical example for all those watching. You wake up tomorrow, you go to your 9-to-5 job. Let's just say you're tired afterwards. Let's say you're a parent or you're not. Either way, you're tired. You got other things you got to do. You got your favorite shows on Hulu or Netflix and chill that you're about to watch. It's not easy to, in defense of those, it's not easy to say, you know what? I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I got 20,000 excuses, but I'm still going to go do an hour, either outdoor, at the gym, in my garage, whatever, to be active. I'm going to do it. That takes a lot. It has to become that lifestyle of obligation. I'm committed to doing it. I'm going to do it even if I don't feel like it. And it catches up to you over time. Either you start making that decision. I'm either going to make an excuse every single time I have a chance to work out, or I'm going to decide to do it anyway. And that's going to be the choice I'm going to make majority of the times.
You know, and you can still watch your favorite episodes of the Full Vetted Show or The Magician and the Jock on Small Town Big Sound as you work out, put on a treadmill.
Yeah, or if you're having trouble sleeping.
Yeah, exactly.
So one of those.
But no, to Chase, to your point, I got to hit on this. My actions are preordained, right? So like I am on an autopilot. It's a great book called The Power of Habit, which talks about something like 40 to 50% of what we do day to day is habitual. There's another thing that they studied people's thoughts. 95% of the thoughts I had yesterday, I have today. Mm-hmm. So we have this illusion of free choice, but you really don't. It's dictated by how you see yourself. You change that. It's like changing the destination in your GPS. The maps automatically change. So to your point, Chase, you went from 280 down to 8-pack or whatever you had. Tell them how you did it, because I almost didn't believe when you said this, but this is how strong the mind is.
Absolutely. And you know, like you were saying, just going from this progression of what you define as your self-image, right? Like if I have this self-image that I can't accomplish that, I'm never going to get there. Also, if it's just so closed off that it has to be one way, and I don't really enjoy that. So self-awareness becomes extremely important along the way of learning, what do I like, what do I not like, and learning self-awareness of exercise taste buds. For me, you know, going from the 170 guy that was just motivated by athletics to the 280 guy that was motivated by getting bigger, benching as much as you can. And then as I got older, to kind of go to this redefinition of strong, meaning how well-rounded can I be? Let me push my limits of being well-rounded. And then take it a step further. My definition of strong is, can I take this to my career? Can I take this to my relationships, my family relationships? How much better can I get at everything? What once was overwhelming, running a mile, running a 50 miler now, like running 1 mile used to be so overwhelming. That is nothing in my mind now. So it has to become this visualization of what you want to be. And we really do put, to your point, Dodge, about habits and what we do on a daily basis and what standard we set for ourselves. That really has to change over time, but it starts with just habits. It starts with just daily little progressions.
But talk about when you lost that weight. What didn't you change? Which everyone thought you did, because everyone's looking for a secret recipe. Dude, you lost how much weight?
I lost 90 pounds.
And did not.
The first question that was asked of me is, oh, what did you change with your diet? What did you change with your nutrition? And the answer shocked all people that asked me that. I said, nothing. They're like confused. How can you lose 90 pounds and eat exactly the same?
Were you on paleo? Were you on keto, South Beach yeah.
And by the way, I'm not dogging nutritional changes, right? I'm not saying you can't do it that way. That's how most people do it. So what made a lot of people intrigued by my story is I literally just added a lot of running. I literally had the mentality that I knew self-awareness. I knew I was never going to be the rabbit that ate lettuce for every meal, right? I wasn't going to be that guy. So I literally added an hour run every day after I lifted weights. So I did my weightlifting that I've normally done. And then I added cardio, quality cardio, not just I'm on a bike at level 1, barely moving. I'm talking running or, whatever you're doing, but your heart rate's got to be up, right? I added an hour cardio every day. And I got to a point where I was doing basically circuit training with my weightlifting and then running for an hour, sometimes 2 hours. And that was like an everyday thing. I don't think I think there was 3 years where I didn't miss a single day of doing that. I got to a point eventually as some years came. Yeah, I got to a point.
You just put yourself in caloric deficit by physically putting yourself in caloric deficit.
Jordan, who is in the Marine Corps, was like, follow him into war.
Storm fucking Normandy with it.
It's D-Day, son. It is D-Day.
Man. I actually used to train a couple of military, and I respect a lot about the military, all branches. For me, it was always about what I loved about a lot of the people I met through the military. They'd bring their rucksacks to the gym, and it was just so powerful. My grandpa was in the Army, but just hearing how much they cared about who was beside them, right? It wasn't just about themselves. It was the sacrifice. So thank you to the military out there, truly, for not only the sacrifice of putting your life on the line, but your time, putting people before yourself. So I really appreciate that, because freedom is not free. So thank you guys. And kind of what I was talking about with my fitness journey is one thing that I would encourage anybody out there to do is write this down and say, there's 168 hours in a week. And what do I do with it? There's 168 hours in a week, right? There's 24 hours in a day. 1 hour a day is 4% of your day. Like Billy said earlier, you got plenty of time to watch your favorite TV show. So what are you doing with those other hours, right? Are you wasting it all? We're not saying don't have fun. We're just saying, look at all the time you have and what are you really doing with it? And, I would encourage us all, myself included, I would encourage anybody listening to this, like, you have one life to live. One of the biggest things in life that a lot of older people that are interviewed say is regret is one of the worst things you could ever have, that you didn't do something, that you didn't use your potential, that you have talent that you never used, that you were the person that sat there and said, well, I'm a good person and I'm never going to exercise and I'm just going to weigh 500 pounds and be on 500 medications just because, so for me, is making sure your story is that you're leaving this world truly with empty pockets, that you used all of your ability. And that's really what I want to encourage those listening.
Yeah, I tell people when they tell me I don't have time to go to the gym, I'm like, let's break it down in one day, 24 hours, 8 of that, say you sleep, right? 8 of that, you go to work. That leaves 8 hours. So take 2 hours to eat throughout the day. That leaves you with 6. Spend time with your kids, 2 hours. Who the hell wants to hang out with them anymore?
Yeah, seriously. But it's not a logical argument, right? Everyone knows logically.
Yeah,
they can find time. Everyone has the same amount of time.
It's just the motivation.
I mean, I would, and I believe Chase, and I believe all you guys are. You don't have time not to go to the gym or not to do something. We're not saying like stick to some.
Pick up logs.
You don't have to. That's why I don't give that much credence to this diet over that diet, this workout plan over that workout plan. They all work. Every one of them, if you stick to it, they all work. But it's you have to find. I do agree, though, it is more difficult now to find that intrinsic motivation to work out because there isn't a direct line to your income right away, right? Now you can make the argument, well, you feel better, so you can work, you're more alert, but there's not a direct, like maybe a degree or a certification or it's easier to justify putting another hour into work than it is to working out. But
what's the saying that Arnold says? You need 8 hours of sleep. Sleep faster.
Sleep faster.
And let's say this. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we'll put a bow on this, but we definitely want to give you you've trained 5,000 people. I personal trained for a couple of years. Personally, I just got tired of like counting reps after a while. I started to avoid. Didn't like going to the gym after a while, but maybe if you can talk to those, because guys and gals who watch this channel, I mean, it's small town, big sound, they have an intrinsic ambition to succeed. They may not know how to get started. They may think, hey, being in shape, hey, hopefully after watching this, they see, hey, man, there's more intrinsic benefits than
100%
attracting a mate, because maybe they're already married, maybe they're whatever. Maybe speak to those guys about or light a fire under their ass, because there's a fire lit under ours, and just talk to the audience about that and what you've seen and the people you've trained that's helped, because I'm sure you've come up with some mental shortcuts that have helped with that.
Absolutely. So a couple analogies to start off is, I would say this, for example, I'm a Christian. If you went to church the first time and it was for a shallow reason, you like the girl in the second row at your church, God.
How did you know?
God will use that, right? So it could start off with a silly reason. With fitness, for example, it could be, man, I want to get in that swimsuit, or I want to impress that girl or that guy if you're a girl, with our identities out here these days. But that's a whole nother subject. But for me, fitness, it's okay to find any motivation in any goal, even if it's a physical goal at first. That's fine. That can always be a part of it. I encourage you to take anything that motivates you to start.
There's no bad excuse to get into the gym. No bad excuse to get working out.
It can be the summer. We're in the summer right now. It can be getting ready for the boat, right? Pulling up at Jack's, whatever. So for that,
I tell people, for me, I'm like, look, I have to get in shape because I got to sit next to him, like for weeks on end.
That's a good excuse.
And then what you'll find out is starting and doing that and creating the habit, like we talked about earlier. Eventually, your reasons and your why becomes deeper rooted, where it becomes, well, I put this much time into it, and on a big philosophical goal for me that I have for the audience out there is, you don't want to get in front of God one day. Let's say you are a Christian. Let's say you believe in God or whatever you believe in, and your judgment day, if you will. And he's like, man, you were going to be this amazing father or mother, and you were going to have this career, and you were going to be this healthy. And they're like, you're sitting there going, nah, that's not my story. And he's like, well, that was what was meant for you, but you didn't use all the tools I gave you. You sat on your ass and half-assed your whole life away. And that's my big meaning for everybody with this fitness, is it can start off for a unique, silly reason, just like church can start for that girl in the second row. Eventually, you stick around it long enough. You know, you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. You stick around it long enough, and your roots get deeper and deeper, and you put enough time into it that you're not just going to throw it away because you don't feel like it anymore. And that's really what it's all about, is to have this full life. You really have to incorporate your health. After love, there's really nothing more important than your health. I mean, that's pretty clear to me, is after love, there's nothing that you could say you have a full life if you're not healthy, you know, and that's spirit, mind, and body, but it is body too. I always repeat that because a lot of people get caught in just spirit and mind only. It's spirit, mind, and body to be a full person, especially when you're not, you know, when you're capable. So for those out there, there's no better time than now. Get up, get moving. You don't have to feel perfect. You're never typically going to feel that way. And even if you have the silliest motivation at first, that's okay. Just go, just do it.
You know, with you saying that, it kind of brings up what Les Brown also said at one time. He said, you don't have to be great to start. You just have to start to be great. You know, so it's like, get yourself up. You should always try to achieve excellence no matter what. Choked him up.
Say that again.
That was
Sorry. That was fireball. say that again. I'll edit it.
No, it's like, you know, Les Brown said, you don't have to be great to start. You just have to start to be great. And I think we should all try to find some sort of sense of excellence. And no matter what we do in life, whether it be starting a YouTube channel, working out, whatever, you should always try to better yourself and be great at anything that you do.
Yeah, man. And a lot of times the reason you show up is not the reason you stay. Yeah. And that's kind of what Chase has been talking about. So but look, we are humans. So if you're a single dude wondering what girls won't pay attention, I look at him and I'm like,
because you wear a size.
I'm like,
you're bigger around than you are.
You're
tall.
Young and out of shape.
Yeah.
Like you're young. You're supposed to be in your physical prime.
There's some people that the scary part is the childhood obesity rate is so sad nowadays, you know, and it's not because, again, of some genetic thing. It's because of lifestyle, lack of exercise, just no movement. So you weren't born, all those listening, I'm talking to you. You were not born to be mediocre, and you have to find a way to get pissed off for greatness because it's inside of you. You have a story and a legacy to leave. And like all three of us are sitting here chatting about, you know, Billy and Matt have said some great things. You have to find your why, even if it's a small why at first. It may change and it will change over time. You stick around long enough. And so really, really think about that. What kind of story are you going to have if your story ended right now? Have you really given your all in your life?
So Chase, one last question from me. If you were to name or give the title to this episode, what would be your title for this episode?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a tough question too. I'll say my thoughts and maybe
hard hitting.
I'll say my thoughts and maybe we can come up with it together. How about that? I would say the things for me are, you know, the word, how do you define strong is one. What's your why? Just what's your why is another one. The no finish line mentality to continue to grow and develop into who you are. And really just to sum it all up is kind of, having empty pockets, like whenever our destination's done, do we have empty pockets that we really truly left everything we have on the table? So I think that no finish line mentality from, you know, the civilized lion mentality I personally carry, that's really all kind of the summary for me of whether it's fitness, like you said, or life, that you just never stop developing and growing and becoming who you're meant to become. You weren't meant to be mediocre.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna have a show and it's gonna be called Civilized Lion.
Civilized Lion or Chasing Excellence. Yeah, Chase Excellence. Gosh, I just pun. Well, Chase, dude, thank you so much, man. I know it was short notice, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. We are
Always great. Man.
So we just
Always
launched
great.
Fully Vetted. We're getting that rocking and rolling. Jordan's in kind of running the ones and twos over there, but we eventually want to get, I
Multiple
mean,
shows.
for a small town, big sound, there's not many bigger sounds than Chase. So, man, we appreciate you coming on, dude.
Appreciate it, Dodge and Billy and Jordan. It's a pleasure, and look forward to hopefully talking to y'all again on whatever thing we want to do to help the world. I appreciate you guys.
I gotta get Doje on a road trip down to Florida. I think that would be
Yes, sir.
Magician and the Jock, or no, small town, big sound. Well, Jordan's got a kid on the way. So
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, you're on lockdown, buddy. So Chase, man, always great. Love you to death. Thank you so much.
You guys too, man. Appreciate it.
So guys, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button.
Smash the like button.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.